right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this special called meeting of Lawrence City Council. It is Friday, September 29th at 10 a.m. I do see, based upon the members we have here present, that there is a quorum, and so I will call us to order. We'll begin this morning by an invocation. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear Councilor Sullivan is able to join us this morning or has not yet made it here. So, Councilor Lattimore, would you mind leading us in a word of prayer as we begin? Please stand.
Father God, we come before you right now, thanking you for this beautiful, beautiful day. We thank you, dear Heavenly Father, for bringing us together one more time. Lord, anoint our minds and our hearts. Help us to make the right decision for your people. These blessings I ask in your sweet Son, Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Seated. Councilor Martin Lowry has reached out to us and let us know that he was not able to be present physically in person this morning, as it is a special called meeting. A requisite notice for the media and the public has been made, but of course with business schedules and travel schedules, he wasn't able to be here with us this morning. My understanding is that he is available and ready, willing, and able, and desirous, in fact, of being able to participate this morning if that is council's desire to suspend that role and allow that remote appearance. Do we have any motions concerning that? Or, yes, any motions concerning that?
I make a motion that we allow Councilman Lowry to join us by video.
All right. Are there any seconds?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right. Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of suspending the rule and allowing Councilor Lowry to appear remotely at this meeting, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The motion carries. With that, I will dial them up.
Good morning.
Good morning, Councilor Lowry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, this is a first for us, but we appreciate your being here with us. Since we began this morning, we do have a quorum, and Ms. Miller has just joined us. So
I apologize for not being able to attend, but it was something that's been planned. I've been out of town. This has been planned for quite a few months, but I wanted to be part of the process.
Thank you, Councilor Lowry. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda, just some opening remarks. This week has been a very busy week. We have been involved in discussions with with Presbyterian College regarding the Capitol Theater, and it was announced earlier this week that it is their intention to deed that property to the city, and that transfer would take place at no cost to the city. The original plan with that facility was to operate it as a performing arts space and a public gathering space for the city. And after a change in administration and the natural assessment of priorities and costs and expenses and everything that goes along with the change in administration. PC wanted to make very clear that they want to continue to have a strong relationship with the city of Lawrence, but they also want the Capitol Theater to be successful and to be used to its highest potential. And based upon that, they made the decision to transfer that to us. And so that matter is before you this morning as a resolution. The other thing that we've been working very hard on is the Lawrence Public Housing Authority. City Council in the spring of 1950 established the Lawrence Public Housing Authority, which built the housing project in Spring and Independence Streets. State law requires that the director of the housing authority and the board make their records and books available to City Council and make regular reports to City Council as we may require. In doing our due diligence to make sure that the residents of the city of Lawrence, and in particular the residents who are housed at that housing facility, have the resources that they need, we've had discussions with the executive director. And the last time the matter of the housing authority was before City Council was when the executive director asked that we dissolve the housing authority so that there would no longer be any authority of this council to appoint members to that board, nor would there be any responsibility of the housing authority to report to City Council. When that matter was brought to City Council, it was just as a matter of public comment. There was no agenda item before us to consider, and so no vote to be taken. But from speaking with each of you individually, it seemed clear that there was no desire on the part of City Council to move in that direction. The next time we heard from the Housing Authority after that was an announcement by the members of the board that they wish to resign their posts, which leaves us with the responsibility of making sure that that board has its spots filled, that operations are maintained, that those residents are cared for, that an executive director is hired, which cares for those residents and helps people who are in their moment of need, but hopefully works with them to not be in such a position of need, to get on their own 2 feet. So while we do not hire the executive director of that position, we do appoint members to the board who do. And so we reached out to members of the community asking for folks who would be willing to serve, and we reached out to members of council asking for recommendations for folks they feel would be qualified to serve. And we are thankful that we have a number of applicants before us. That board has 5 seats. Though it is a relatively small housing project, and state law does not require specifically that one of those seats be a resident. The practice at our housing authority is that one of the seats is a resident, and state law prescribes that that is my personal appointment. The remaining 4 seats are seats that are appointed by council. And so I brought those names before council this morning to make a decision. That will be the second item of new business before us. And the third item of new business before us regards updating an agreement between the City of Lawrence and Lawrence County regarding procedures in collection of city fees and taxes. Last time that agreement was originally reached, I believe, in 1990, if memory serves. And then I believe it was updated in 2017. However, there's some ambiguity in the agreement, and upon advice of council and working together with our partners at the county, we have reached an updated agreement which resolves some of the ambiguity between the city and the county. And so there is a resolution before you to approve the agreement and the agreement itself for council to consider in making that decision as to whether or not to approve the resolution. So those are the matters that we're here for. Those are the only matters that we are here for. So I will keep order in this meeting according to that, and that's what we're here to do, and we'll get out of here as quickly as possible. All right. It appears, I know we have members of the public with us, but no one had signed up in accordance with the city's policy regarding public comment. And so moving on from that, we will proceed to the consent agenda. And the only matter on the consent agenda this morning is approval of today's agenda that's before you.
I make a motion that we approve our agenda that we have before us.
Second.
Thank you. It looks like Councilor Lowry dropped off, and hopefully now he's back. Councilor Lowry, you there with us?
I am. I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button.
No worries. All right. Councilor Lattimore, we had a motion to approve the agenda. And is there a second? We have a motion and a second. And Ms. Sullivan joins us for your information, Councilor Lowry. All righty. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. And the agenda is approved. All right, moving on to new business. We have before us first Resolution 23-09-01, resolution of the Lawrence City of Lawrence City Council accepting the donation of the Capitol Theater to the City of Lawrence from Presbyterian College. Are there any motions concerning this resolution?
I'll make that motion, and with the discussion, I move that we accept the resolution 2309-01.
All righty, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Any opposed, no.
Did you have discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did you have discussion?
I'm out of order. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
No. You're correct. I'm out of order. I apologize. I'll rush that. Is there any discussion?
You know, with heartfelt thankfulness to Presbyterian College, and I was glad to hear you say that we would still have that working relationship with them, because I really was looking forward to the Capitol Theater with all the things they had planned, and I think that with us, the council, and our leadership, that we will continue to do the things that would involve Presbyterian College and Lawrence County, period. So that's one remark I really wanted to make, because really was looking forward to all the plans that was for the Capitol Theater, and I feel with our leadership and the council that we will continue to do those things. That's all.
Thank you, Councilman Bell. I will second that. Presbyterian College has been wonderful to work with through this process. I think their gift to the city of Laurens is extremely generous. And while there will be a change on the deed name, the ability to bring back movies in that space sooner than later is something I have heard from the community they're ready to see, and we want to already working on that process. I think that's the immediate change that most members of the public will see sooner than later. But then there's a commercial kitchen which has been completely transformed from what it was, and it is top of the line, just a really promising spot that will be able to serve the concessions area of the theater, as well as the area that was in the front that was designated for the gaming stations for esports. If those esports stations are not there, it sort of opens up a number of possibilities about what we could do there. But you may have read in press reports this week that my inclination is that we reach out to community organizations like Main Street, that we hold town halls, that we put out requests for ideas through various sources, and really study the issue and take our time to make sure we do it right and make sure it's something that the community really sees a long-term benefit from. So that's exciting. I will add as well, we try to use the good of social media to get the word out there sometimes and communicate. I've tried to make it as much of a policy as I can not to get engaged in the back and forth. But unfortunately, that means that there can be misinformation and disinformation out there. So I'm happy to sort of provide as much detail and answer any questions that you all may have on behalf of your residents about the who, what, when, where, why. In a public meeting with press present where we can go through the proper channels rather than getting involved in the back and forth on social media platforms. Yes, sir.
Mayor, I'd like to just echo what Ms. Miller said, that I think it's real nice that they did turn it back over to the city of Lawrence to give us the opportunity to see what we went out and sold it to anyone. And so I just want to, relay the message that I too appreciate them after putting the money that they did in it and everything and getting it up to where it is, that then turn it back over to us, that we are still allowed to go in there and have some great opportunities to make something out of it. But I too am thrilled to see that we can still save it as a theater and have movies here, because I'm like you, that's some of the comments that I've heard too, because it was such an asset for our kids and to have movies that kids could go to, and that's a lot of movies that they showed, and it was good to have that. And I think it's good to have that, and look forward for, I don't know how we'll go about getting the cafe in there, or how we'll run it, who will run it, or whatnot, but I'm pretty sure you'll come up with a plan, or we'll come up with a plan where we will be able to manage it and still have a lot of input in it. And I appreciate the opportunity to see it getting back up and running.
And I'd like to say too, that we could use our schools and our churches to have events there. And I'm thinking about right now a nice Christmas play. Just something, things of that nature. in that building, which would be an ideal place for it.
I couldn't agree more. We had an opera house that existed until 1929, when the old city hall, believe it or not, the one that we have now is built in 1930s, new. But the old city hall had an opera house on the upper floors, but the city really has not had a public performance space since 1929. But we look at our neighbors down the road in Newberry or in Abbeville, in Greenwood, and see the benefit that that kind of space can bring to a town. So the sky's the limit. I've heard the same sort of comments about movies, but with Presbyterian in the driver's seat, we're a little bit bound about what we can do and what the timing is, with our taking the lead on ownership and programming. That will allow us to be in a little bit different position.
You know, even with the stage, you know, it'd be nice if, like I say, if we could do some like little performance and play. Because I tell you, I've been to several down in Pilsen, and they do a great job down there, and they got a small stage, and I have been to 2 here just recently, and you'd be surprised the number of people from Lawrence that goes to Pilsen to churches and everything else. So that would be nice if you know, if we could ever foresee doing some live performances on that stage. I think it'd be great.
A lot of people may not know that screen that's in that building is retractable, and that there's an actual stage behind that. And actually, the building was built with an orchestra pit. The stage was sort of extended a bit, but the orchestra pit still exists. So lots of planning ahead. One question that I have seen, just for the record, for the benefit of those gathered and whoever may be watching, there's no fully baked, fully formed plan, in part because with Presbyterian's internal communications, it's not, and ours, frankly, the more discussion, research, questions, staff going in and out of that building, the more tongues would wag. And there needed to be a proper order of their internal communications. And frankly, you know, the arrangements between PC and city had to be worked out from a legal perspective to make sure everything was in good order. So I'll be very transparent and say there's not a fully formed idea of what this will be and how it will function, because we really haven't had the ability to do the homework on the front end the way it might have been ideal to do. But I'm looking forward to that communication with the community so we can have that input. Any other discussion about that? All right, hearing none. We have a motion for approval of 23-0901, a resolution of Lawrence City Council to accept the donation of the Capitol Theater. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, no. And the resolution passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the appointment of members to the City of Lawrence Housing Authority Board. Because the terms of the current members end effective tomorrow, is the reason for this being a special called meeting is because we want to have those new board appointees in place by the time those terms end. So, are there any motions concerning the election of an appointment of members to the Lawrence Housing Authority.
I'll make the motion, but I'll make a motion, but I have a question for the appointment of, members of the Lawrence Board.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Miller, how can I help you?
Okay, you have the, here, are we going to submit these, or what's the process?
All right, I'm glad you asked.
Mayor, one thing,
Yes.
Ms. Little was late, you might want to.
Yes, thank you. Please note that in addition to the names listed before you on the printed page, we had one other individual who was nominated and approached about his willingness to serve that has agreed to serve this morning. So if you will please handwrite onto your ballot James Barton.
James Martin.
Barton, B-A-R-T-O-N. So I contacted the Municipal Association to make sure that we were doing things in good and proper order and what the best way to approach this was, because we have a number of people that have agreed to serve and more than we have slots to fill. And so rather than my presumptively sort of weeding through them and deciding who I think it's going to be and only presenting 4 options to you, I wanted to present you with the entire slate of people who have agreed to serve. And so we will do this ballot, and each of you would choose your top 4, and the top 4 would then be those who would be appointed by City Council. These ballots don't have our names on them, but the ballots themselves would then be attached to the minutes and become part of the record. Okay?
You'd say residents is there.
There's no requirement under state law that these individuals be residents of the city of Lawrence. However, we try to prioritize folks that either live in the city of Lawrence or work, do business, volunteer, etc. in the city of Lawrence.
So may I ask, are there any requirements to serve on the board?
There are. State law sets out, mostly the requirements are that there cannot be a conflict.
Can that be a conflict?
As I mentioned in my opening remarks, there is a requirement for units above, for housing authorities with units above a certain number that we don't exceed, that one of the members be a resident. But we do it anyway. So I will be making that appointment myself separately. And it is the reappointment of a member that is already currently serving in that role.
Okay. I thought at one point when I first got on the council, it was a requirement that we did have one representative, but that's not a requirement anymore.
It isn't under state law.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
At least not for one of our size.
Okay.
I have spoken with each of these individuals to see whether or not there would be any conflict, whether or not they have any business with the housing authority, or whether they would in any way, profit from this appointment or anything. There do not appear to be any conflicts here.
Mayor, are they going to be some way that they go have the term, like so many will be 1 to 2 years, and then so they're going to sit down among the board members once y'all get in, or something set up already? It's a term.
That's a good question. So under the statute The statute deals more with the situation where city council initially sets up a housing authority, and then those staggered terms are put in place so that you have continuity. As I read it, state law doesn't directly address the issue of the situation where there's most of a ward being appointed at one time, almost like we are starting from scratch. Even though this authority has been around since 1950. So I think that the appropriate thing to do would be for the board to determine, once they are appointed, which of them has what length of term.
Another question I have, some of these people I do not know, and I'm quite sure you have their resume or you know something about them.
I have,
Share that, or?
sure. I've spoken with each one of them personally and tried to answer their questions about what it means to serve on the board. And sort of gotten an idea of their background. And also, just to be candid, I wanted to make sure that each one of them was committed to trying to do things better moving forward than we've done in the past, because we can't get better results by doing the same thing.
Very true.
And I was impressed with each of these. I think the nominees that you have before you are diverse in background, in ethnicity, in occupation. I can sort of give a
Okay, that's good.
quick summary of each one, if that would be helpful.
I would like that.
Okay. Mr. Ray Bell is a longtime Lawrence resident. His family ran Bell's Cafe in Watts Mill for many years. He is a commissioned ruling elder in Presbyterian Church and serves a congregation, I believe, in 96, if memory serves. He has a long history, the Bells have a long history of serving in the community, and I think he certainly has a heart to help. Reverend John Booker is someone who grew up in this housing complex and is familiar. He has previously served on the board. He has a understanding of the issues and what it means to serve on a public board. Ms. Susan Cook is a retired educator. She spent many years in the school system, and in her capacity as a teacher, she has dealt with generations of the residents who live at the Housing Authority and is familiar with their needs and issues. And through her service as a teacher, has served the public. Ms. Teresa Downey is a registered nurse. She currently works with Lawrence District 55 in that capacity as a school nurse. She, I think, brings that perspective of looking at the health aspect that can be involved in public housing from time to time. Ms. Alicia Gagan is originally from Mexico. She immigrated to the United States and became a citizen. She currently works in the school system as a ESL teacher and brings the perspective that comes with being a member of the Hispanic community, as well as somebody that has come from difficult circumstances and knows what it means to sort of pick yourself up by your bootstraps and gain a level of success. Miss Beverly Powell is a retired school teacher. She is, I just don't have enough nice things to say about her. She was very motivated to really do what she could to help and move things in a better direction. Mr. James Barton is a longtime community leader. He previously served with the city under Mayor Goss in helping address the issue of blighted homes. And he has graciously agreed to serve if so appointed. So those are the nominees before us. I don't have any favorites, so.
Mr. Mayor, I got a call from Reverend Booker last night. I don't know if you need him to personally be present, but he wanted to abstain from this board. Okay. He expressed that, I guess he spoke with you and
He'd like to be removed from consideration?
Yeah, he said he don't agree with the plans that are being put in place for the citizens that live there, that you and him spoke. So maybe he want to tell you that in person. I don't know, but I got a call from him last night. Okay. And then Mr. Ray Bell, could you tell me Mr. Ray Bell's race and what his considerate his financial background would be? Would you say he's middle class, rich, or where would he fall?
I don't believe I feel comfortable.
You can't really say what.
I don't think that would be appropriate for me to answer that.
Okay. What is his race?
Grant Drive in Lawrence.
Race.
I'm not sure it would be legally appropriate.
Because I'm just asking because you were saying that we want to make sure that the board is diversity in thought,
Yes.
finances, and race, because this is what this board going forward with. That's what you wanted it to be, right?
Yes.
So that's why I'm asking a question so I can know how to vote.
He's a well-known enough community member. He is a Caucasian.
Okay. And then would you consider his finances like middle class or?
I'm not answering that question. I'm sorry.
Okay. Miss Susan, okay, and Ray Bell, does he live in the city of Lawrence, the county, or do he live in the District 2?
He lives in the city.
In the city. Do you know if he's a resident of District 2?
I don't off the top of my head.
You don't know, okay. Miss Susan Cook, I think I know her, but can you tell me her race and maybe if she lived in the city or county or in District 2?
I didn't meet with her personally. I believe that she's an African American, but I don't know that for a fact.
She live in the city or she live in the county? Okay. And then Miss Teresa Downey, same with her.
She lives in the county, and I believe that she is a Caucasian.
Okay, does she live in District, oh, you said in the county. What about Miss Alicia Gagan? Gagan?
She lives in the city, and she is Hispanic.
Hispanic, okay. And then Beverly Powell.
I haven't met Ms. Powell in person. I believe that she is African.
And she is.
Does she live in District 2?
I don't know, 1 or 2, but she live up near the projects. She lives on Independence Street, wherever that is.
Independence Street.
That would be in.
And then do you feel comfortable with stating what her race is? She black? She's black, okay. And then Mr. James Barton.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me those questions? You live in the city or county?
He lives in the county,
In the county, okay.
and he is a Caucasian.
He's a Caucasian, okay.
But I want to make clear,
One more question. Mr. Mayor, besides Mr. John Booker and Ms. Beverly, as you said, independents, have any of these persons lived in the community of the Housing Authority Board, besides Mr. Booker?
I believe so,
No, you're not sure?
but
Okay.
I'm not certain. But the representative, there's another board member who is the representative of the residents of the housing unit, who is a resident.
And last question, Mr. Brian Griswold, did he give you any, did you receive anything from him about any of the prior board members, or consider anything that he wanted going forward?
I'm not sure what you mean.
I know you was in contact with him, so you and I spoke, and you guys, spoke well about the board going forward. So did he submit to you anybody that he would suggest that would be a good fit going forward? Somebody from the old board to go onto the new board?
Yes, the current resident representative.
Okay, Mr. Booker. That was the only one?
No,
No? Okay.
but that is a separate appointment that I make personally, not
Okay.
city council.
Separate appointment, okay.
So the names that are before you are the names under consideration for city council's appointments.
Gotcha. Now, and then, last question. The board that we previously had would be, no, the board that we have going forward would be assigned different tasks from the last board. Is that right?
No, ma'am, that's not right. The board is an independent body of city council. The
Right.
only authority that city council has is to appoint members. We don't dictate what they do, we don't approve their budget, we don't, we do approve debt. And similar to the relationship that we have with the Commission of Public Works, if the CPW wanted to take out debt, we would have to sign off on that as well. But this board is not taking orders from me or the city administrator or city council as a body for that matter.
Oh, no, I'm just asking because I don't know any. I'm dumbfounded to what the board actually is going to do. I'm trying to learn, so that's why I'm asking questions. And
So a board of the housing authority does what other nonprofit boards do, and where they set a budget, they do annual planning, they hire an executive director, they hold the executive director accountable for making sure that the job is done, they represent their various interests and bring their various perspectives to bear on decisions that are being made. They make sure that operations are continued and look at ways to do it better in the future.
Okay. All right. And then Reverend Helms.
I reached out to Reverend Helms at your request. I did not get any response.
Gotcha.
But these are not forever and all-time appointments, so as they rotate, we look forward to more community involvement from other folks.
Okay. So the explanation of what the board we're going to be doing going forward, I don't see anything about it. We're just appointing them now, and then later you'll have a more.
We appoint board members and then they take the ball and run.
All right. Okay. Gotcha.
Sorry, I just wanted to know.
No problem. Any other questions? All right, so please, I'm not saying I don't trust you, Ms. Sullivan. What makes me a bit uncomfortable is because I didn't receive notice that Mr. Booker doesn't want to be considered. I don't know if we can sort of take your word for it that he doesn't.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't know if you need him to come. I got a call last night, like at 10, and he was just saying that, I guess after talking with you, he didn't agree with what was going to be done or asked to be done with the board. So I don't know because I wasn't in the conversation, I wasn't in the meeting. So my place today, I was just gonna ask the questions. I know I just gave one name, and I just learned about this board meeting last week when the administrator sent the email. So it wasn't time enough for me to go out and do a survey with the residents there to see if they're receiving what they need from the current board, if they're not, what they wanna see. So I haven't spoken to the people that is receiving those benefits over there. So I don't feel comfortable with voting on something that I don't really know what we're going to put in place after that conversation I had with Mr. Booker. So, that's all. I mean, I just want to make sure I vote on what's best for the people that lives there.
Ms. Sullivan, the city council doesn't put anything in place. That is the board's independent responsibility. But I understand your position. This is a special called meeting because of the timing that the spots need to be filled.
Yes, sir.
So,
I want you to be clear on what I'm saying. I'm not saying anything against what you're doing. I'm just explaining what I received and then at the timing that I received the information about a board. That's all.
Understood. Thank you. Ms. Miller, did
Okay,
you?
my concern was that I originally contacted Mr. Reverend Booker twice, and he was very excited about it since he had once served on the board twice before. And this board is going to be disbanded, but you asked a question because, like you say, you did not know. But this is an old board that been in place ever since the housing project been up there, and we actually have nothing to do with them. But back to Reverend Booker, we always, like I said earlier, we always have tried to get a resident on that board that lives there. And I know that Reverend Booker, and when I called him, he was very excited about it. So I don't know, but anyway, let him.
Yes, because he said,
So that's all I got to say about it.
My
spoke-
suggestion.
I'm sorry,
Excuse me.
go ahead.
My suggestion would be that because we have not received official notice that he wished to be, and let me make sure, Mr. Administrator, Madam Clerk, have either of you heard from Mr. Booker? Okay, or Reverend Booker, excuse me. Since we haven't received any sort of official notice that he wishes to be withdrawn from consideration, my suggestion would be that if, in the event he were to be elected and he does not wish to serve, then he could immediately resign and we could fill that spot.
And you can go ahead and vote on it as well, but I'm just saying what was stated to me, and I think
I believe.
let me finish. The same way that he could call her and you can receive it from her, I'm hoping that you can receive the message from me like you could from her. It should be the same, being that I'm the council member there. Am I wrong to say that?
I don't feel comfortable asking city council to remove him from the ballot under those circumstances.
Okay,
So-
but if Leslie told you, you feel comfortable.
Well, Leslie is the city clerk.
Okay, and then,
That is her official role.
so,
When notice is served to the city for things. Excuse me.
go ahead.
Ms. Sullivan, your position, any position of city councilor is only as a member of the body.
Yes, sir.
And city council can only act as a body. That's why, let's say hypothetically, if the city were to be sued, you're not just serving one member of city council. The law specifically designates those people who are allowed to receive official notices that are directed to the city, and that does not include members of council.
Okay.
The last I spoke to Reverend Booker, he wished to be in consideration.
Okay.
Having not heard anything to the contrary before this morning, I don't want to do something out of order by removing his name. If he were elected And based upon the conversation this morning, council may decide that he is not part of their top 4. But if he were elected, then if he did not want to serve, we would still have done our job in duly electing anybody and not prejudicing his interest if he did want to serve by moving forward with his name on the ballot. And then if he did not want to serve, he could immediately resign. So I think that's the best way procedurally of making sure his rights are protected.
That sounds good. I'm in agreement with you. Just passing on the message.
All right. Is there any further discussion on that matter? So I would ask that we pencil in James Barton, because we did receive notice from him, and proceed with a vote. And Madam Clerk, once the votes are done, would you collect them and tabulate them for us? Mr. Lowry, you are not here with us to submit a paper ballot. I would suggest that your options would be to either abstain or give a voice vote on the record for the names, for one of the names.
We've already.
You
already addressed
communicated?
this with the administrator.
Okay, thank you.
I have voted.
Okay, thank you.
You not voting?
I would say from the votes for lack of information in a timely manner and residents not being in the city.
We will note that for the record, Ms. Sullivan.
Thank you.
How's the move coming for the police department? They get out the building?
While we're waiting, if nobody minds, yeah, so the police department has moved heaven and earth to get moved out and into their new facility, and I really got to sing their praises. One of them's here joining us. Saw him carrying boxes and all sorts of stuff. But the contractors did as contractors do. That's about all I have to say about that.
I passed by, I saw them, I appreciate them even more now, I see the hard work that y'all put into it. It was what, 3 or 4 days of it.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
That's right. Well, I think,
I have a new respect for movers.
it was really good to see that teamwork happen. And we had some good donations from DHEC, office furniture, all that sort of thing. And though they aren't in place yet, in the new council chambers, you will see some recognizable pews from the old courthouse. So we've been very blessed with that.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, do we have results?
Almost. There was one I was a little confused on. I don't know who it is.
Madam Clerk, do you mind explaining for the record what the issue is?
There were 4 marked. One was marked through. James Barton was marked through. Then it said Reverend Booker, but if he says no, add James Barton as my 4th choice. So I was just trying to figure out how to kind of tally that up.
Just from what I could see, I would think that you would go with Reverend Booker. Because that was the first choice.
There are 4. Dale has 4.
So could you just please announce the top 4?
Cook. Downey. Then, there's a tie. Goggin and Barton.
So each of those are tied? And so that would mean that Bell and Powell's totals were less than the totals of the tie?
Powell has, 1.
And Gagan and Barton?
Barton has 4. He's one of those.
Each of them have 4. All right. So the top 4, even though 2 of the top 4 got the same vote count, would be Cook, Downey, Gagan, and Barton?
Yes.
All right.
Well then,
So based upon the results which have been tabulated by the city clerk and will be made part of the record and included as the minutes, with minutes of the last meeting, or this meeting, excuse me. The top 4 would be Ms. Susan Cook, Ms. Teresa Downey, Ms. Alicia Gagan, and Mr. James Barton. And so those are before City Council for appointment. We have a motion before us for that appointment. There's been a motion and a second. So is there any further discussion?
Just want to make note for the record that, I abstained from the vote. The selections for a majority from the county, only two citizens from precinct 2, and the diversity of, finances and race was not prevalent enough for me to choose someone for this board. And thirdly, the timing of it didn't give us time to survey those personnels out there and see if we can get some more interested persons from District 2 to apply for the board.
May I ask a question?
Madam Clerk, if you'll please note that Councilor Sullivan's abstention and the reasons she's given. Yes, Ms. Lattimore.
Does it matter what their financial cases are to be on this board?
May I add to that also what district they come from? That doesn't have anything to do with it.
I want to keep us in order so that we don't get sidetracked. The qualifications for this board were met by each of the nominees. And so anything beyond that is beyond that. Alrighty. If there's no further discussion, I will call the question. All those in favor of appointment of Ms. Susan Cook, Ms. Teresa Downey, Ms. Alicia Gagan, and Mr. James Barton as City Council's appointees to the Lawrence Public Housing Authority Board, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no.
Nay.
And the appointments are made on a 6-1 vote with Ms. Sullivan voting against. All righty. Moving right along, that brings us to the last item of business for City Council, which is approval of an agreement between City of Lawrence and Lawrence County, which has been set forth in writing and attached to a proposed resolution 23-09-02. Do I hear any motions concerning this resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve this resolution so we can get it before the board for discussion and go from there. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Boat. We have a motion from Councilor Bolton, a second from Councilor Lattimore. Is there any discussion?
How much is the fee that we're adding onto the county taxes? How much exactly is the fee?
That matter is not before City Council this morning.
Mayor Stan, I have a question.
Councilor Lowry.
The new agreement, is there an increase in cost of what the county's going to do to collect our taxes? Going to charge us to collect our taxes?
Yes, there is. So previously, the city agreed with the county to have them collect our taxes for 1% of the gross collections received by the county on our behalf. And if you'll bear with me. I'll point you out the section in the proposed agreement. Administrative costs. Section 2.4 increases that fee to 2.5% of the gross amount that would be collected. And those would cover the administrative cost for the county. Based upon our negotiations with the county and our discussions with council, in looking at the cost to the city to be able to hire additional staff members on an ongoing basis to cover the administrative cost. That appears to be in the city's interest.
What is based upon our most recent tax collections, what is our number that we're going to be paying the county for this?
I will defer to the administrator on that.
So, based on our budget, it would be about $40,000 more than what we currently pay, which is very favorable.
So we'll have to amend the budget and go add that in? No?
All right. Any further questions?
And,
Councilor Lowry, I believe Councilor Bolton beat you to it.
my apology, Councilor Bolton.
I was gonna ask, really, we're not increasing taxes on anybody. I mean, as far as taxes is concerned, the tax is still the same. This is just to, instead of them paying every month or so, this is a way that we don't have to go, they don't have to come in and pay for their garbages. So it's actually a benefit for the customers who get trash pickup, and it also benefits the city.
I believe you're referring to the public works fee, which was established in the budget and would replace the monthly trash fee that everybody gets. That really isn't the item on the agenda before council this morning. It is the way that issue gets carried out administratively. But really, this is solely an update to the terms of the agreement between the city and the county that we've had for 30-something years.
This is on our vehicles and individual vehicles that we have, citizens have in the city and property.
This covers any and everything the county collects on our behalf. So it has been our practice since at least 1990. And so this maintains that relationship with the county and simply provides a little bit more detail.
And like the school taxes. That's what this is.
So rather than the city having to pay the administrative costs, which would far exceed $30,000 in hiring the staff to send out bills and do collections and do the auditing and all the things that the county auditor's office and treasurer's office do on our behalf. Since 1990, the city has contracted with the county, just like I don't know of any city in the state that collects their own taxes, frankly. It benefits the individual taxpayer to only receive one bill. And so this is just sort of an update to that.
Rather than get one from the city and the county.
Correct.
That's what we already get, isn't it?
No, ma'am, you get one tax bill from the county and it differentiates on that bill.
Oh, it's all on one pay, all on one paper.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I was.
It's just updating our fee structure.
Exactly. Well, yes, as between them. That's correct.
And Mayor, just for information purposes, other cities that do it, it's the very same thing. Right, I mean, it's what, Alton, I guess, I mean, it's one of them that does the very thing that we're trying to do now.
That's correct.
Other cities, so.
That's correct.
So for transparency, the confusion came in because the structure is changing on how we're collecting it from the city citizens. Is that correct?
No, ma'am, there's nothing changing between the relationship between the city and the county. there's the structure of how the Streets and Sanitation Department is funded with regard to a monthly tax bill going out that cost us upwards of $1,200 a month in postage alone, to do on a monthly basis, is allowing the city to realize the savings of those administrative costs by having that one particular fee. This amount is sort of moved over here, but from the taxpayer's perspective, they're just paying it on their annual tax bill. They're receiving one bill annually instead of 12 from the city. So
why do we?
In that sense,
Go ahead.
okay, finish. So in that sense, there is a change in the city's operations because that is what city council decided. We discussed it in depth at the budget workshop and then voted on a budget. And so there simply needs to be an update to the agreement that we have with the county to clarify that the county would treat that fee just as any other fee.
Right, so that's all we need. We need this just to smooth that out, right?
Right,
That's it.
provide clarity. Yes, ma'am.
Because we've already approved this in the budget. There's nothing increasing on our taxes for the citizens.
Correct.
The structure of it is changing.
Our structure of it is changing, but there is nothing in the relationship between the city and the county that really changes.
Right, okay.
And as we said, the reason for our doing it differently is, as we discussed at the budget workshop, it doesn't make sense to send out a monthly bill for $11 every month and pay for the manpower it takes to receive those bills and do collections and all that sort of stuff.
Martin has something.
Yes, Martin, I didn't mean to skip over you.
That's quite all right. You pretty much said a lot of what I was going to ask a question about. I think it bears reemphasizing that this is an efficiency move on the part of the city to try to collect any and all taxes and fees that we possibly can through the route that we've had in place for 30 years. And there's no difference on that. So you pretty much said what I was going to say. But I just want to reemphasize that this is, in fact, an efficiency move on the city's part, which I think is very insightful, and I think it's a smart move all the way around. We need to not duplicate services anywhere that we can avoid that is good for the city residents, and I think this is a good idea.
All righty, is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor of passage of resolution 23-0902, authorizing me to execute a collection and disbursement agreement between the city of Lawrence and Lawrence County, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, no.
Oh, it's saying it this time. Nay.
Is that an abstention or a no?
Yes, an abstention.
That would be 6 in favor with 1 abstention. All right. That is all the business before City Council this morning.
Thank you.
So I will now turn to our Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Before we adjourn, I want to ask 2 favors of City Council. I think our clerk informs me that we need signatures from City Council on the resolution or the agreement itself is what you're,
I think it's just you, right?
it,
You, they were for them to sign it, but I thought you said they needed.
Nope, it's just you.
okay. I just was trying to be helpful. One other thing, I have a little bit more formal version of the resolution that we passed the other day. And I wondered that I'm going to take across the pond with me with the key to the city. And I was hoping I might be able to get a picture to send along with it. So, all those in favor of adjournment, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. We are adjourned.
Thanks, Nathan, for letting me participate with those.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.